right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Our guest in the fast lane today is a true Kiwi legend. His work has made a massive difference to the lives of thousands of Kiwis every day. His I Am Hope Youth Mental Health organisation has enabled counselling for more than 40,000 kids and has spoken to 400,000 tamariki in schools around the country. And Gumboot Friday has delivered 125,000 therapy sessions to Kiwis under 25 in the last 6 years. It's fair to say both have been a game changer for mental health in this country. On top of that, he's still fondly remembered by many of us for his comedy and TV work as one of the funniest people around. I'm talking, of course, about Mike King. Welcome, Mike.
Hello, Simon.
Very
what
nice.
a privilege it is to be the first guest. Couldn't you find anyone good?
Well, no, actually. To be absolutely honest, we've been turned down left, right and centre. And
Richie wasn't available.
Richie
Dan couldn't do it.
Who else? I don't know. And then I just,
Winston wanted to do it, but then he cancelled last minute.
Look, I don't want to use the phrase scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I will if I have to. No.
Mate, I'm happy to be the bottom of the barrel. I have been the bottom of the barrel for a lot of people for a lot of years and very comfortable there.
In all honesty, you were one of the first people I thought of, and thank you very much for saying yes as well.
Welcome.
But also, the reason I did think it would be great is that the podcast is aimed at everybody, not just the motor industry, even though it's an MTA-hosted podcast. And mental health is a huge issue within the motor industry, as it is for a lot of others and the general population. But I know that talking about mental health is something that will click with a lot of the automotive industry listeners. So there is a logic behind it as well.
People who are watching this, Simon, are going to be absolutely shocked by what I drive, my family car. You would like have a guess. What do you think my family car?
We'll come to that in a minute, actually, because I do have a little bit of a list of questions,
Yep.
and in fact, that is the first one. So I should say that, Mike, you and I have known each other over the years for quite a while. We've sort of dealt with each other through media and various other things.
Well, not only that, your work at the Stroke Foundation was absolutely outstanding. So I'm always happy to support anything that you're involved in. You've got a great heart.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot to me. And thank you very much, Mike. And thank you also for your support of the Stroke Foundation because, and I think we can probably fit this in a bit later, but I mean, you gave your time, and effort and energy absolutely free. You were super busy at the time. This is around 8 years ago from memory. So you were massively busy with I Am Hope at that point. But you still found time to turn up and do photos for us for free and tell your story about stroke and everything, which I was hugely grateful for. So, I
think that's missing from society today where organisations are helping each other to grow. Like I've noticed in the mental health space, it's very territorial. And I didn't realise that you would meet so much resistance from other organisations in the same space. In fact, I was shocked. And it's getting better, but in the beginning it was like, this is ours and who do you think you are?
I'll tell you what else sucks is influencer culture. Like, you gave your time and effort to Stroke Foundation for free. Miriama Kamol, who is somebody else who I have a lot of time for, she did exactly the same.
Yeah.
Even when it was her image all over the side of Stroke Foundation, blood pressure vans and all that sort of thing, she didn't charge a cent. Now, the first question that a lot of people think today is if you're going to get a big name to do something, what are they going to charge, right? Because it's all about their followers and they will demand X amount of social media posts and all that sort of thing. And I just think, oh, man, where has the goodwill gone? Where people will support a good cause for nothing.
Completely disappeared.
Yeah.
Everything has to be monetised.
Yeah.
Everything has a dollar value. And that's the same in our charity. People go, everyone thinks that our charity got $24 million from the government. We gave the whole $24 million to counsellors and we cover all the costs, but no one wants to hear that story. Yeah. They just want to hear that Mike King's got $24 million and he's buying private jets and flash cars. We don't have any flash cars in our house. So, there is this Yeah, it's a different world from when I grew up, where the most valuable thing you can give to people is your time. But now time is money.
Yeah,
money.
And everyone's got their hand out for it.
Yep.
So, obviously the 10 grand that we're giving you for today is going to be money well spent.
Well, I gave you the discount.
Disclaimer, Mike is appearing completely free of charge. Obviously, I'm sure everybody has worked that out for themselves. But, look, thank you very much again for tuning up. And we're really looking forward to having a chat about things and what the future holds for you, because I know some interesting things, exciting things are happening for you in the future as well. So, as I say hello, we do know each other a wee bit through media, the Stroke Foundation and other sort of avenues. There's still a lot I don't know about you, and probably a lot that our audience don't know about you. So given that this is the Motor Trade Association podcast, let's talk about a few things to do with cars, and then we can get into the more grunty, meaty stuff of what we want to talk about. So you alluded before to your family vehicle. You want me to have a guess at what you're driving? I don't think it's going to be anything too flashy. I don't know. I'm going to say...
Want a hint?
Give me a hint.
It's a hybrid.
What?
Yes, hybrid.
Modern man.
Modern man.
Plug-in hybrid?
No.
Right, then I'm going to have to say Prius.
Prius. A Toyota Aqua.
Wow. Go you.
A Toyota Aqua. Before that, we had an American V8 with a huge Hemi engine.
Right.
And just decided one day that what was I really driving that for? Because I wanted people to look at me.
Yeah.
Was it practical? No. Would cost a week's budget just to start it up. So one day we just went, let's just throw all that out the window. What do we need? And so we got a Toyota Aqua.
Do you miss the old?
No, not at all. Like it's an A to B car.
Right.
Cars are from A to B. They're supposed to be practical. At work, I have a work car as well. TR Trucks supply our trust with cars. And so I've got an SR Holden that I drive for work. But on the weekends, me and Mum, we're in the little Aqua.
I have to say the Holden...
I live in South Auckland, and it's really hilarious because I've got a white Aqua. So, many's the time people are waving me down. I'm going, I'm not an Uber. I'm not an Uber.
Yeah, no. We just need that little red sticker that goes in the... Why? I've never understood why people put that sticker on there. What purpose does it serve?
No clue.
You by the time you're in the car, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Is it information you really need when you get into a car that you can't open the door from the inside or whatever it says? I've never understood the reasoning for that. It's very strange.
There's no point of jumping from an Uber because you've already paid, you moron.
That is true. How long did it take you to get the hang of using an Uber? I still don't like using it.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
So I was like, grumpy old man, taxi for me. Very easy now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just cheap. And again, it's getting your mind around this is A to B.
Yeah.
So I could still turn up in a corporate cab, a long Falcon with a guy dressed up like a chauffeur, and pay way above the rate, or I can be dropped off by my lovely ethnic driver at the airport and cost next to nothing.
Yeah. Are you a sort of technology guy when it comes to phones and apps and work suggest? No.
Please. Like, my job is still trying to get me onto computers.
Right.
I run everything off my phone.
Yeah.
My office is my phone. My notebook, I use Chat GPT to I write out my response, and then I'll get it to, whether it's like I might say.
I did think you were being a bit more articulate.
Yeah.
In your
Well, so one of my
recently.
big ones is, literally tell them to go and shove it up their butt. And I'll put that in, and I'll go, reply in a high-level way, and then it'll come up with ta-da-da, beautifully, even with the ngā mihi at the end.
Wow.
So, I find them very handy, People say, I use ChatGPT. Yeah, but I write it.
Right.
I don't just put something in there and then copy and paste what it puts in there. Yeah, that's right. Main thing it's given me is structure.
Right.
It helps me structure something properly. whereas mine is just a garbled bunch of thoughts, like what's in my head, and it just gets dumped on a piece of paper. So it gives me really good structure. It's a great PA. It is not an expert in anything, but it's a great PA, and it just helps me formulate things. And and I was in the executive director role, so I had to look like I knew what I saw. And the other thing it's really good for is complicated contracts.
Oh yeah, it makes
I
sense.
use it for complicated contracts. Give me in layman's terms what this dude's on about. And bam, it comes back. It's like, oh, okay, I've got an understanding now. And now I can actually read it with this knowledge in my head and go, okay, so it's not so complicated anymore.
Are you one of the people that sort of probably after our time, but worries about what AI will do for the world?
I think we are in at the perfect time with AI right now. It's kind of like the beginning of social media, Facebook. It's being used as a connection, and it's being used for good. But it's going to destroy the world, but
it's a cheery prognosis.
But I'm 63. I'm nearly dead. So what do I care, Si?
Mind you, talking about social media, and again, we'll touch on it later. But while we're on the subject now, do you wish social media could be uninvented? Like with all the problems it causes for young people, do you think it's something the world would be better off without?
You sound like my dad. When bloody telephones and bloody TV, bloody lead, bloody Zeppelin's going to destroy the world.
Yeah, thanks for that. But you know what I mean, though.
Well, so look. The problem with our generation is we're living in a world now where it's easier to point the finger at something else than look in the mirror and go, what role am I playing in the demise of our young people's lives? And I've done a lot of work in this area. For example, people always say to me, the number one problem with social media, with mental health of kids is social media. Okay, what do you mean? Well, it's causing eating disorders, it's causing this, it's causing that. So, like, I had a chap last night say, eating disorders. And I'm going, well, I've got the data, and did you know kids are reaching out for help around body image and eating at 5.
Right.
And a 5-year-old a kid doesn't wake up at 5 and go, oh, I've got an eating disorder. Oh, so it starts at 3. No kids on social media at 3. So now you've got to look at it from an environment point of view. Yeah. What's going on in that environment? And, you see it all the time. Simon, put the cake down, darling. You've already had one piece of cake. You don't want to look like mummy, do you?
Right.
Or dad's going, oh, look at that silly cow. Look what she's wearing. Oh, my God, does she not look in the mirror? And our kids are little sponges.
Yep.
So they're hearing this all the time. And we just, one is trying to help the child. The other one is making a joke. What's the child hearing? If I look like that, you will disown me.
Yeah.
And as for social media, so if you're a kid with a great sense of self, feels valued by their friends and loved by their family, you are going to hit rock bottom on social media. Something is going to happen, but because you've got those solid foundations, you will come out quickly and you will learn from the experience. If you're a kid with a bad sense of self, who feels like no one likes them, even with a loving relationship with their family, when they hit rock bottom with that extra weight on top, it takes them longer to get out, a heck of a long time to get out. And when they get out, they don't learn from the experience. They are damaged by the experience. So what I like to say to people is social media the problem, or is it the fact that we've got so many kids out there without a good sense of self and don't feel valued? These are all foundations that we as parents should be instilling in our kids, and not instilling in the way that we think. We think instilling these foundations in our kids is telling them what to do, telling them how to behave. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do the other thing. We've got to stop telling kids what to do and start showing them what to do.
And start listening to them as well.
Well, parents come to me all the time and they go, my kid won't talk to me. What's wrong with my kid?
Yeah.
Look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we're jumping ahead. Fascinating stuff, and we'll come back to it. Let's just stay with the quick little sort of intro stuff, if that's cool. The aqua. but what's been your worst experience behind the wheel, or should I actually say the handlebars? Because you are an ex-motorbike. fanatic.
I've had 3 near-death experiences on bikes. The first one, I rode into a strainer post at 80 kilometres an hour.
Ouch.
That hurt. I was under the influence at the time. I broke my back, burst my carotid artery, had a stroke a week later over in Melbourne. The second one was a couple of years ago. Someone cut me off on the motorway. I just pulled out in front of and the car in front of me stopped. I had nowhere to go. I dropped the bike and skidded along Kuiper Pass, the Newmarket flyover of the Southern Motorway. And then 2 weeks later, I dropped my Victory on the way down to the holidays, just out of Pyro. Ended up getting helivac into the hospital, nearly died. It was so. My wife's made me sold all of my motorbikes, and I am now allowed a 50cc Suzuki scooter,
right,
which is enough.
So, well, if you were a cat, you'd be down to 6 lives.
Yeah, and that were all my fault. I blame no one. Yeah. Even the car coming out, I'm responsible. I should have been more aware.
That's probably a bit hard on yourself, but...
Well, you're a motorbike rider.
You've got to be aware.
You've got to be aware all the time. Anything could happen, and I let my mind wander for a split second and got too close to the car in front. When he stopped, I was done. Yeah.
Wow.
So, no, it's. I mean, these are all great exercises in learning and changing behaviour.
Character building.
Yeah,
Character building.
very.
Yeah. All right. Quickly, go. Have you ever been in trouble with the law?
I lost my license for demerit points. I have a need for speed, or I did. So I lost my license, and then I got caught riding my Harley Davidson without a license while I was disqualified. Now, that was in 2012. At the time, it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. But out of that experience, I got 200 hours of community service, and I used that speaking in schools, and it changed my life completely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely changed everything. And that's when I went on this talking to kids in schools about my journey with my overactive inner critic and body issues and all of these different things, alcoholism, drug addiction. Suddenly it just opened up a whole new world to me.
Your life really is a succession of silver linings, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've gone through some experiences that probably would have broken a lesser person, but you've actually always been able to convert that into something positive. Fair comment?
Well, you have to. I mean, the problem in the world today is, everyone thinks the world owes them something. The world owes you nothing, my friend. It owes you nothing, and it's how you rise up and you face adversity. Now, I'll qualify that by saying my wife Joanna has been the pillar that's kept me up. When I gave up comedy and didn't earn any money for 3 years except from the appliance shed, where I was advertising for them, no one would hire me. The pork thing had gone down. I couldn't, my television career was over, and I had nothing, and I was at rock bottom, and my wife just said, get up, we're on a mission. We've got something to do.
That's awesome.
And so, without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I say this to men all the time. When you're advancing on something new, take your family with you. Because if you don't take your family with you, if you don't succeed, you get blamed. And if you do succeed, I don't feel part of it. So, I'll look at you. So there's resentment either way you go.
Yeah.
So you've got to take the people that you love with you. And it's really, really, really important. And they'll support you through the highs and lows. And that's what my wife's done for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it is really important. I think that's a very good message for anybody from any walk of life, actually, is that, don't choose that career path over your family. And it is very easy to get sucked into that.
Oh, it's the same for everything. When you go to buy a car, take your wife with you. She's going to be in the seat 50% of the time. So, don't just, I want to go and buy this and she's going to like this. You can still buy that car. Just convince her that that's the car she wants.
Yeah. So, but just on a light-hearted note, really, but are you okay with being driven? Or are you somebody that always has to drive? I always have to drive. I hate being driven.
I drive, but my wife's a passenger breaker. I don't know when to stop unless she tells me. I'm not aware that a car 500 metres in front of me is about to slam on his brakes until she tells me.
So there's a cyclist in the lane.
Yeah. So when I'm in the passenger seat, I've got a bad habit to go, stop, and she gets furious. I'm going, well, welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't mind. My wife's a good driver. But yeah, I'm on the road. I'm with Rick Wells at the moment. Everyone knows I drive.
Right.
I'm a sober driver. I drive.
Yeah, no, very good, very good. All right, a couple more quick ones. Who would you swap places with for a day, first of all? And secondly, what would you say to Christopher Luxon or Chris Hipkins or even Donald Trump, for that matter, if you had the chance to over a coffee or something like that?
Who would I like to be just for one day? It'd be good to be Donald Trump, just so I can stand up in front of the world media and apologise for everything I'm doing. That would be great.
Yeah.
Or would I say? What would I say to Chris? Just keep doing what you believe in. Keep doing what you believe in. You were voted there to do something. So keep doing what you believe you're doing. And if people find it worthy, they'll vote for you again. The problem we've got with our political system is, we'll get a government. At the moment, we've got a blue government and a green bureaucracy. So there's always tension. What I think should happen is, same in America, when a new political party gets voted in, then all the heads of the departments or the ministries need to reapply for their job. Yep. So, for example, if the Greens get in, heaven forbid, but if they get in, and if they've got the mandate for the people, they should have the bureaucracy in there to actually put in place the things that they wanted to do,
quite
rightly
logical,
or wrongly.
Yeah.
But they should be empowered so we can see the true effect of what they're trying to do. In this country, it's always the same. We promise 5 things. By the time we get in, we can make good on one promise, and then you're trying to get re-elected again.
It actually makes a lot of sense when you say that. I think a lot of people don't realise that a new government inherits a lot of the infrastructure from
it's the same with our mayors. A mayor's got one vote, just like a councillor. But when you look at a mayor, the mayor runs our city. No, they don't. A bunch of people who, from different walks of life, have all gathered in there and suddenly all want to change. And they just sit there yelling at each other all day.
I know. I was talking about this with somebody the other day, actually, and they were saying, who do I vote for as mayor? Which one will give me will reduce rates or increase rates?
None of them.
And I was like, yeah, none of them. To be absolutely honest, there is no point voting on that basis, because even if they say they will, it is not their decision alone to make.
Well, there's some things like we're politicising councils now. I'll vote Labour or vote centre-right. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're already running the big part of the country, and I say that, if a mayor gets elected, he should have a team there behind him to give him the deciding vote. There should also be those other voices, but he should have the deciding vote.
Have you ever thought of or been approached for a political role?
Yeah, I've thought about it quite a bit, and my wife said H to the E to the double L, no. It's just like, yeah, and I have thought about it, but I looked at running for mayor, and when I discovered that you have a deciding vote if everything's tied up. No, it's a pointless exercise with lots of yelling across the table, and I think it's a politics of personality now rather than issues. Like I really like our mayor in Auckland. Yeah. Why? Because he's an engineer. What the engineers do, they fix shit. Oh, but he can't talk to people. He doesn't. Why should he know how to talk to people? He knows how to fix a pipe. Yeah. Let him fix the goddamn pipe. There's too much politics in council now. It should be about the people. And who are the people? The homeowners, the people, not the renters, the homeowners. We're the ones that are paying the rates. We're the ones that are paying the council wages. We're the ones that know the problems in our areas, and we should be supported. But currently, it's about what our political parties want to do.
So we're not going to see Mike King for mayor anytime soon?
No. Mike King is standing down as executive director, and Mike King is going back into schools and communities and doing the things that I love, which is connecting with young people. I've got a couple of new school programs coming in.
Well, let's get to that at the end. Yep. Spoiler alert, we'll come to a bit more detail around that kind of stuff later. But look, when you look back on everything you've achieved and what you've done and where you've got to, I mean, it's been one hell of a journey for you. I mean, do you ever look back and think, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's an odd world. I mean, I started out as a chef at 15, got my London City and Guilds at 18. I joined the mongrel mob. Then I got into trouble there, and I didn't want to go to jail by going down that road, so I joined the Merchant Navy. I was there for 9 or 10 years, and then I decided I wanted to be a comedian. I'd always wanted to be a comedian, but I executed on that. So that was a massive career in entertainment and on telly, and then to go from and then getting into the drugs and the alcohol, and then finally turning down this road. I mean, it's been a journey.
Well, and let's start with the journey in terms of the mental health and your own personal dealings, not only with mental health issues, but alcohol and addiction issues and all that sort of thing. So I think from my research, this all started on April the 1st, 2007. Now, that's a date that I think is quite significant for you. Yeah. Can you tell us about that?
So my issues with drugs and alcohol started when I was really young, around 12 or 13. I was an introverted kid who was 4'11", buck teeth, big ears, rubber lips, had a massive head. So I had major body issues. But I was really, and I was a late developer. So, I didn't know how to talk to girls. So alcohol gave me an outlet where I could talk to someone or a girl, and if I made a mistake, I could go, I was drunk. And so the drugs were there all the way through. Alcohol was there all the way through my life. And then, as a kid, I always dreamed of being famous at something. And I believed that if I got famous, then all my self-doubt would disappear, right? Because everyone loves famous people, and famous people have money, and money is choice. And then when I got famous, instead of these Golden Gates opening at a massive ticker tape parade and everyone calling my name, these gates opened and there was my big heads going, you're still a loser, you're still an imposter, and wait till people find out. Now, it's kind of like, when you win lotto and you think your life's going to change and everything's going to be better, and then suddenly you hit that realization that the thing that was supposed to make everything better didn't make anything better. That's where the drugs and the alcohol really took off. And it got to the point where I was just mercilessly putting myself down, living in my head all the time, suspicious of everybody, but I also needed everybody. So, I'd be the one buying all the alcohol, buying the drugs. I'd buy friends. I just had this insatiable need to be loved. And eventually it all just caught up with me, and I attempted to overdose on cocaine in Hong Kong. And while I was unconscious, then my then 8-year-old daughter came and sat on my chest. Obviously, she wasn't there, and was just going, "What are you doing? We need you at home." So, wow. April 1st, 2007, April Fool Day, I got back from Hong Kong. I fell out of a plane. And decided that was it. I was going to give up drugs. I was going to give up alcohol, and, I'm going to turn my life around. And that was a very shaky journey, I mean, you believe you're never going to have a good day. You've used all your good days, Yeah. How can you have fun without drugs and alcohol? So it was like, it was, I just had a massive stroke in January, so everything was out of control. And, while I was doing that, I wasn't working, I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't doing anything. My wife rang Willie Jackson, right, and, said, "Look, he's just not himself." Yeah.
And was the stroke related to the...
I think it was all part of it, but, I think the stroke was more fate intervening and going, if you carry on down this road. Yeah. So I had a choice, and, that's when I OD'd on this cocaine. Like, the reason I used cocaine was because, I thought it's a hero's way out. Everyone go, "Oh, Mike King, what a legend." That's how my mind was working, rather than putting it on my kids and my family that I'd taken my own life. So, and so... Yeah, it was a really odd time. So then Willie, Jackson rang me up and said, "Hey, how you going?" I said, "I'm fine. What do you want?" We're all worried about, "You don't have to worry about me. I'm sweet. But you're not working. I don't need to work. Just leave me alone." And he encouraged me to do talkback radio.
Right, and I was just going to say that a year later, 2008, you're on air with Radio Live.
Yeah,
and there was one show that was particularly significant and probably a real turning point for you. And tell us about that.
So I was in there, and when you go into radio, you go, "Hey, today, and the interest rates have gone up, or Governor Don Brash has changed the interest rate. Yeah. If you're affected by the interest rates, give us a call, 0800-725-0800 Radio Live." And no calls were coming in, so I'd go to plenty of people want to go to the break. Next thing coming, there's lots of people want to talk about the interest rates, but here's what else I've noticed. In Sydney, so have you ever had that happen to you? Nothing. Yeah. Go back again. I see there was a plane crash over in Asia today. If you've been in a plane crash, give us a call. Turns out no. Anyway, I used up all my ads, right, and I'd had this war going on in my head, and I went to a break, and the producer said, "There's no more breaks." Right. And so it was like, I've got to do something. So I had my eyes closed, and I just said, "Look, I've been lying to you out there. There are no calls, and if you don't start calling in the next 2 seconds, I'm going to start talking to the voices in my head." And that's exactly what I did. The reason no one's calling is because no one likes you. Oh, they like you. It's having dinner. It's 10:30 at night. No one wants to talk to you. You're a loser. Why do you always talk to say Michael's a loser? Why do you always call him Michael? His name's Michael. And then my producer went, "Answer the calls."
Yeah.
And I had a full board of calls. First guy I ever spoke to was Māori fella. His name was Rangi. I knew he was a Māori fella because his name was Rangi. And he goes, "Bo, I have those voices too." And I'm like, wow. And that was the first time for me that I'd heard someone say that they had lived the same experience. And he's a Māori fella too, which made it even more poignant for me, given how staunch and covered up Māori are. So, we had a great conversation, all 7 of us, his voices, my voices, and 2 calls later, there was a little girl's mum rang up and said, "I haven't seen my baby smile for years, and she's listening to you, and she's got the biggest smile on her face." And she said, "Mum, that's me. Wow. That's me. He's talking about me." And so it changed my life. So
and from there, the Nutters Club was born. Right? was the start of the
Well,
Nutters
it wasn't actually.
Oh, go
the
on.
start of the Nutters Club was when I gave up drugs and alcohol. I was having a lot of problems, and a good friend of mine, Pat Rippon, who was a property developer, he was going downhill too, and our mutual friend Simon Bradwell. We used to meet every Friday, and I'd whinge about the world and why the world owed me a favour, and Pat would whinge about how the world owed him a favour, and Simon would sit in the middle and, give us a different way of looking at our problems. And we used to meet every Friday, and then one day after 6 months, I said, what day's the Nutters Club meeting next week? And that was the name that stuck. So the original name came from me, Simon Bradwell, and Pat Rippon.
Have you ever told that story before, but that Simon was part of the original club?
No.
Bit of a scoop for you out there. Heard it here first.
I come with nothing but diamonds for you guys.
And from there, there was a few critics of the name that we'll overlook that, because there's critics.
No, it's good though.
Yep.
People, it's for me, the worst thing that anyone could have said to me was, I had, oh, you're a nut job. So it was about taking ownership again. It's about saying, yeah, I am. So people would go, like they'd come up to me and they go, oh, I heard you're crazy, I heard you this. And go, yeah, I started that rumour. What else have you got? It was very empowering. And the only people that were really upset by it weren't people with mental health issues. It was just a bunch of woke counsellors who said, no, you can't use it.
Imagine what it would be like now.
Yeah.
It would be so much worse. The criticism, it would just be off the Richter.
But I've never worried about what other people think or say, People got it. No, I had, events where when the pig farm thing took off, and all that kerfuffle went on, and I was down in Taranaki at an Ireland versus All Blacks game, and I saw this huge farmer guy, with the swanny just looking at me, and I'm going, oh, here we go, I thought he was going to come, and as he come towards me, this honestly was going through my head, I'm going to hit him and then I'm going to die, but I'm going to hit him first. And he comes up to me, he gets right up to me, leans right in, he goes, I'm a nutter too. And it just formed this whole camaraderie around that club. So it's very precious to me.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's awesome. And it led, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it did lead to your work with schools and with kids. And what happened when you first did that? Was there like an instant connection when you spoke?
So what happened was a principal of a small type of area school in Northland, lived in Auckland, and every Sunday he would drive up to North where he'd spend the week at type of area school. Of course, he'd drive at night and he'd be listening to the Nutters Club. In 2012, 19 young people took their own lives in the space of a couple of months. And they had all of the experts go up, the ministry people go up, and he called me one day and said, look, we've had this thing happen. My kids feel real disenfranchised. I had all these experts, but they're just not connecting. Will you come up? And I said, yeah, sure. So I walked in the room. Kids, the whole hall was like, yeah, here's another old fart coming in here and telling us what to do. But rather than telling them what they were doing wrong and what they needed to do to fix it, which is the prescriptive approach, I took a descriptive approach to my talk, where I talked about me at their age and the constant battles that I had with myself growing up. And kids were able to recognize the beginning of their story and my story and then safely ask. And so when I was doing all of this, the teachers were surprised because the kids were suddenly sitting up. And then at the Q&A, hands just went rocketing up. And Q&As, in a standard environment, take 5 minutes. An hour later, these kids are still, I'll never forget one of the things that the kids said to me. One kid put his hand up and I said, yeah. He goes, the problem with what's going on here? I go, no, you tell me. He goes, got all these experts coming up from Auckland and from Wellington telling us what our problems are and what we got to do to fix them. And there might be big problems in the cities, but they're not problems up here. And I go, okay, so what do you want? I go, I want someone to listen. We know what's going on, but no one's asking for our opinion.
Was that a bit of an epiphany for you?
The epiphany came after the talk, where one of the teachers came up to me and said, we've got 5 kids on suicide watch. will you go and talk to them? And I'd never talked to any young person on suicide watch. I said, yeah, sure. I expect to walk into a room with a bunch of crying kids, right? They're just your kids, my kids, sitting with smiles on. I was like, hey, what's going on? How you going? Good? Well, apparently I heard you want to kill yourself. Yep. I go, you might want to tell your face because it doesn't look like. I said to this first boy, I said, so what's up with you? And he went, and he told me the story, da-da-da, da-da-da, and it was the most horrific story I'd ever heard. And I was like, wow. Well, first off, congratulations, because I know for a fact 99% of the world wouldn't have been able to carry that. Then I said, have you talked to your mum and dad? Have you talked to teachers? He's like, no. I go, why not? Because every time you talk to them, they make it about them, and then they just make you feel worse.
Yeah, right.
I was like, give me an example. He went, da-da-da. I was like, oh, I do that, da-da-da. I do that, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And I was thinking, oh, holy hell, I do all of those things. So in that situation, I did what any normal adult would do. I went to the next kid, young Māori boy, good-looking fellow. I said, what about you? And he goes, first of all, I'm gay. And I was like patronising, oh, well, that must be tough, eh? You know, Māori boy in gangland, Northland, wrestling with your sexuality, that must be really tough. He goes, I'm sweet with being gay. I go, okay, so what's the issue? He goes, every time I hear the word faggot, homo, gay boy, poofter, even from my friends who I know love me, I think, is this how the world sees me?
Yeah, right.
And what's the point? Now, that was the game changer for me, because at that time, not only was I saying those words on radio, television, and live shows, I was actively encouraging others to say the same things as a joke.
Yeah, right.
And then I talked to the other kids, and just as I'd recognise the beginning of their journey and my story, I recognised myself as a parent and as an adult in theirs. And the epiphany that came was, oh, I'm the problem.
Right.
These guys aren't the problem. I'm the problem.
Yeah.
My generation is the problem. And that's when I knew I was on the right path, and I knew I had to do something, but it involved listening. Lots and lots of listening. So I'd travel around the country for free. I'd visit schools from Cape Reinga to Bluff. And I just, have my board was going, oh, you've got something here. We'll just get a whole lot of famous people to start talking. I'm like, I don't know what the problem is. But, you're talking and the kids are all, so that's the problem. I said, no. You can't fix something when you don't know what the problem is. So I spent the next 3 years talking and listening, and now I know what the big problem is in mental health, and not only in our kids but in us. The biggest problem in mental health isn't depression, anxiety, alcoholism, drug addiction. These are all outcomes. The biggest problem in mental health is an overactive inner critic, that little voice that constantly, that constantly judges us, that constantly over-evaluates, everything that we do, say, and see every day. Yep. That is the biggest problem in mental health, and it's worn behind a mask of perfection.
And that's something that a lot of people will connect with and relate to. I think, to some degree or another, most people have that, don't they?
Everyone has it. Yeah. It's called thinking.
Yes, or overthinking.
It's thinking. But the difference between confident people, how confident people think, and how people like me with rejection issues, with anxiety issues, with rejection issues, how I think is completely different. I'm constantly on the alert for any sign of rejection. I'll walk into rooms with a big smiling face, but all I'm looking for is rejection. Yeah. And if I see
what's your advice to somebody with those thoughts? Because people watching and listening will be thinking, oh, that's me to a T. So how do you deal with it?
It doesn't go away. That's the first thing you need to understand. The inner critic is like the little child in the back seat of the car demanding an ice cream. I want ice cream. I want ice cream. And you try and, I'm not listening. Oh, I want ice cream. I want ice cream. I'm not listening. I want ice cream. I want ice cream. Some days you've just got to sing along. Yeah. So it's about managing it. So one of the key things I do, if you want to know if a kid has got an overactive inner critic, the easiest way to judge whether someone's got an overactive inner critic, give them a compliment. Okay. If they look at the ground or if they brush the they've got, and they don't believe that they're worthy. So one of the things I say to kids when I pick them up in my car, I always take a kid for a feed, right? What do you want? I want a pie and a Coke. Yep, I'll go. Let's go. And I'll sit them in the car, and the first thing I'll go to them, so I look at them, and you can see it all happening, as you're driving along. So how are you getting on with those voices in your head? What voices? The voice that's saying, how does he know about the voices? And they crack up laughing, and I crack up laughing, and they go, oh, did you used to have those voices? No, I still have them. Yeah. But you're doing all this, and you're famous, and I go, yeah. You don't. So what do you manage it? It's part of who you are, and once you accept it's part of who you are, and it's happening to everybody else, that's when the magic happens. So it's normalizing, but in order for it to become normalized, our generation, we have to take off our masks and show our kids how to talk about emotions. You've got kids, right? So, if your kids want to learn how to play cricket, even if you can't play cricket, right? Forward defence, you got to put the bat straight down. When you're bowling spin, you've got to flick it out of your wrist so it turns. When it's rugby, when you pass the ball, you catch here so you can just deliver. We're teaching them all the technicalities. But when it comes to the basic life skill of communication, you figure it out yourself. Yeah. It's so, kids don't talk because they don't know how. And if we're constantly, we've got this constant habit of striving for perfection. Your kid comes home, tells you about 5 things happened their day, 4 amazing ones bad. What do you talk about? What do you mean you failed that maths test, Simon? I told you on Thursday I'd study for that test. Oh, no, you didn't listen, did you? You didn't. You wiped that smirk off your face, young man. Your mother and I had nothing when we were 8. We had nothing. We lived in a cardboard box. Do you think money grows on trees, Simon? Do you think money just falls out of the sky? Listen, mister, if you don't pick your game up, you're not going to go to university. You know what you're going to do, Simon? You're going to work for the MTA. That's what you're going to do.
Well, that one came true. Hey, look, I know your time is precious, so let me just skip through a little bit of a summary here. Jump in if I've got anything materially wrong. First of all, I didn't actually realise that kids gave you the name I Am Hope.
Yeah.
I don't know if people out there know that, but that was something that was very interesting for me.
It came from so when you're dealing with suicidal kids, one of the questions I ask them is, why don't you ask for help? And their thing was, we don't know who's safe. Yeah. I was like, so what should we do about that? And they said, let's invent something that represents safe. So they came up with this wristband with I Am Hope on it. And as soon as they said, this is our idea, I am hope. And I'm like, well, that's a bit arrogant, isn't it? Shouldn't that say you are hope? And they're like, no. I go, why not? She said, if I'm suicidal and I see a wristband that says you are hope, I'm going to think, well, I'm screwed. What's the point? So I am hope. And I said, so the point of this wristband was, if anyone is wearing this wristband, I am someone who will listen without judgment. I can't fix you. I'm not qualified to fix you, but I can sit here and listen. And if you want to get help, I can go with you to get the help that you need. So that's where that came from. Which
is a great message, and it's become basically a household name now.
I noticed Leroy Carter was wearing his I Am Hope wristband on Saturday.
Sensational. Shame about the result, but well played that man. And some very scary numbers that from your talks with students, 40% of young people would experience suicidal thoughts before they left school.
Before they leave school, yeah.
Exactly. 80% would never tell people.
So people find that the 40% number really scary. But 99% of the people listening to this podcast, whether they want to admit it or not, we've all had a suicidal thought. If you haven't left home questioning life, at least once, you need to get out of that marshmallow. The scary statistic is 80% of kids who are suicidal and 80% of people who are watching this podcast who are suicidal never reach out and ask for help. Why? Because they're worried about what society will think, what society will say, and what society will do. Yet what's our message to people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts? Hey, reach out and ask for help. That's like It's an oxymoron. That's like saying to someone who's scared of sharks, hey, swim across shark-infested waters till a dolphin comes along. Yeah. And why do we continue to put pressure on our most vulnerable to make the first move? Shouldn't the message be, what are we all collectively doing to make it okay for young people to reach out and ask for help?
Very good point. Yep. The next big development, Gumboot Friday, which has been incredibly successful. Yes. Finally, in 2024, government gets with the program. Did it annoy you, the noise around funding that came at that point? It should have been great news, and somehow it got flipped.
And it's still not great news to certain elements in the media and on the left. On the left, there are so many people out there that go, you've given the National Party an out. You've given the right-wingers an out. You should have rejected their money. I did reject their money. I gave the money to the kids. Every cent of that money goes to the councils, and I cover the cost. And it's had a material effect on my organisation. So in October last year, when it was announced, I had 19 staff. I've got 8 now. Am I moaning about it? No. I've lost 11 staff. Whoop-de-doo. We're still helping kids, and that's all that matters.
Has it been frustrating for you dealing with governments and agencies? You returned your New Zealand Order of Merit in 2021. Any regrets around that, by the way?
So, reflecting on all of that, I had a role to play in all of that. I was the one that would go, screw you. No, I'm not doing it. I was a disruptor. At the heart of all governments, they're people representing their constituents, and they're all good people. I've had conversations with them all from both sides. Chippy's a great guy. Chris Luxon's a great guy. David Seymour, I can sit down and have a great conversation with David. They're representing their constituents. Bureaucrats, on the other hand, so politicians come and go, the bureaucrats stay the same. And, the same bureaucrats that were doing the last 3 governments are still there now. But even that's changing, So things are changing, but it's time for me to step out of the way to get rid of all of that past nonsense and let someone come through and take it to the next level.
And just before we talk about that, let's come up with some practical advice here, because mental health touches everybody in some way or another. Alcohol and drugs touch a vast number of New Zealanders in one way or another. Can you give us some practical advice for people who are listening and watching? First of all, in terms of their own mental health. Yeah. And secondly, what about the younger members of their family? What's your advice? What's the practical things that somebody can take away from this?
The most important thing that I can say to anyone, male or female, who is carrying issues is inform your partner. Inform your husband, inform your wife, inform your partner. Why? There's only one thing worse than having a mental health issue, and that's living with someone who has a mental health issue who is in denial. So you've got to talk to someone and let them know. Like my wife knows when I'm sliding down before I do. And, she'll, you've been taking your meds, and so we know, and I can go to her and go, hey, I'm just going to go to bed today.
Are we getting better at talking about it, New Zealanders as a whole? Because that would be a great legacy for you, wouldn't it? As if you'd actually got people changing.
We think we are. We think we are. But again, we're living in a world now where it's easier to blame someone else for what's going on rather than looking in the mirror. Like, for example, when you asked me that bureaucrat question, and politician question, 5 years ago, this and that and that. But now I know that, I've had a role to play in all of this as well. And when I look at it fairly, I have been a bit of an ass to work with at times. My intentions were always good, but, just because your intentions are good doesn't mean what you're doing is good for the other person. So
it also doesn't absolve you of being an ass.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that you learn later, isn't it? At the time you think, well, I'm entitled to be a bit of a pushy prick about this because it's really important. And you buy into that and there's some truth to it. But later on when you sort of reflect on it, you kind of think, maybe there was a different way to skin that cat. I didn't actually have to be that abrasive, right?
Well, it's probably a good way to wrap this up. I'm 63 years old. I've had 2 strokes. I've had 2 heart procedures. I've run my marathon. I'm now in the stadium for the last time. I'm waving to the crowd. I'm not sprinting to the finish line, I can tell you that right now.
It's a victory lap. You don't have to sprint.
But I've got so much to be grateful for now. And all of those things that I carried for years and years and years were just anchors to my happiness. Happiness was up here, but because I was carrying all of that stuff.
And before we just wrap up with that, we didn't quite get to the practical advice for younger members of the family. So let's talk about that very quickly.
I've got no advice for younger members of the family. Absolutely none. Because everyone's giving them advice.
Right.
What I would say to parents, listen.
Yeah.
Stop dictating. Listen. The most valuable thing you can give to your child is your time. Stop telling your kids what to do and show them what to do. When you get home from work, dads, your child knows when you have had a bad day. But if you're not telling them why you've had a bad day, they'll make it about them. Dad, how was your day? Had a terrible day today. I yelled at the boss. I don't want to talk about it. Go to the fridge, get me a beer. I'll be on the couch. Now your child's walking to the fridge going, what's wrong with Dad? Every time I come home, he's always upset. I should have scored more tries. I should have passed that maths test. I should have done this. Yet a simple conversation. Dad, how was your day? Had a terrible day today, mate. I yelled at the boss. But how is it that you always know when Dad's having a bad day, son? Come here and give me a hug. You're an amazing kid. Thank you for all your support. Now go to the fridge, give me a beer. I'll be on the couch. Now your child's walking to the fridge going, I helped my dad. And you have given them the most valuable lesson in life, which is when you have a problem, share it with someone you love. You've made your child from, like I said, thinking they're the problem. Now I'm the solution. I helped my dad. And if you want to take it one step further, Simon, ask your child what they would have done in that situation. Son, what would you have done in that situation? Really? I'm going to try that tomorrow. High five. Next day you come home from work and go, son, I took your advice. I punched a bastard. Now you're going to have to find a job, son.
Indeed. What's the best way quickly for people to support Gumboot Friday?
So you can go on to Gumboot Friday is go on to the website, gumbootfriday.com, and make a donation. Really, really simple. The other best way you can help Gumboot Friday is let your kids know it's there. I have got 800 counsellors online. If you feel like your kid wants to talk to someone about a little problem before it becomes a big problem, go to the website with them. And the most important piece of advice ever, let them choose. As parents, we choose on qualifications. The more qualified, the better it is for my child. Children talk to who they feel comfortable with. And it might be a child play therapist, whatever. Just ignore their title and go with your child's choice.
Very good. Now, right. What does the future hold for Mike King? As we speak, you have just sold your house.
Yep.
Tell me what that means for you and what that means for your work.
I am moving to a little island in Auckland, which shall remain nameless. And me and my wife are going to spend some quality time with each other. I've sacrificed so much of my life and she's missed out on so much and she's supported me so much. So I'm going to step down from the executive role. I'm going back to speaking in schools, speaking at community events and fundraisers. I'm going to be the mad butcher of I Am Hope. Come on, kids. It's your old mate, Uncle Mikey. I've got 2 free sessions for you. Come on into any of our shops.
Fantastic. So you'll never completely never go.
No. I'm with I Am Hope Foundation and Gumboot Friday to the day I die. I love it. It's just everything to me.
That's fantastic. Look, thousands of New Zealanders will be grateful to you for the work you've done. It's truly amazing. I said at the start, it's a game changer. You have been the game changer. I wish we had more time to talk today because there's a hell of a lot of stuff that would have been great.
Oh, we can come back.
You can come back.
And always come back.
Well, we had all that problem finding someone to come on here, so we might need you actually. But Mike, it is actually fantastic, mate. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Great work.
Well.
MTA for life.
That's right. Exactly right. Excellent. Look, well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. I hope you have found that interesting and educational and useful and just downright entertaining. I certainly have. And I'm very, very grateful for everybody for spending an hour with us. Don't forget to like and follow and do all that other stuff that you have to, and look out for more MTA podcasts in the fast lane coming soon. Thank you very much indeed.